Great to be with you here on MLB today, alongside my road dog, the All-Star and World Series champion, Jake Peavy. I'm at Nan Burke, and it's great to have you with us. And maybe the offseason, but there's always news happening in Major League Baseball, and particularly today involving renewed Padres manager Mike Shildt. He has been a terrific season so far with San Diego. What happened for them this year? And now, Jake, he'll be rewarded by A.J. Preller signing a new 2-year contract extension. Great news here from Mike Shildt and the Padres.
Absolutely. When you have things going the way they did this year, Mike Shildt had this team firing on all cylinders. Very deserving of this, and they're excited about what they're building in San Diego.
There's no question about it. The Padres had a lot of success there with Shildt after some disappointment with Bob Melvin in the past. When you look at Schilt's numbers overall, he's had success, Jake. 252 and 199. His winning percentage of 599. So he's been successful. Clearly knows that San Diego is where he wants to make his home moving forward. Let's take a listen to his reaction. 559, I should say, the winning percentage. Take a listen to what Shildt had to say about signing this extension with the Padres.
Wow, just extremely blessed, grateful, appreciative of the confidence that ownership and AJ has shown, and not only me being in the organization now going on 4 years, but getting the opportunity last year to manage the club, and now, of course, this year to now get the extension. You know, we're all excited to continue to move this together. But it's a very fun group, high character group, and I can tell you this is a group that's feels good about what we just accomplished. We covered a lot of ground, but is very much hungry for more and is excited for more.
Mike Shildt clearly pleased to be with the Padres moving forward. And you look at his resume, 18 seasons with the Cardinals. Don't forget, his journey was such that he never really got his chance to be a manager until well into his career. Then he made the most of it. He was the manager of the year of the Cardinals, had 3 postseason appearances, a couple years of the Padres. He was a consultant and a senior advisor, was an interim third base coach, and then finally as the manager of the Padres, 93-69. By the way, we're going to talk to Mike Shildt a little bit later on here on MLB Tonight, plus David Stearns, president of baseball operations of the Mets. So lots of good guests here coming up. In the meantime, news here involving Garrett Crochet. We all know he was fabulous for the Chicago White Sox a season ago, and right now the Red Sox and the Mets are potential trade suitors for Crochet. Again, he had a breakout season with the White Sox, was widely expected to be the top target available until he made it clear that, well, he didn't exactly want to get traded at the trade deadline unless there was going to be extension in the offing. Here's the latest here from 670 The Score, the tweet. White Sox are seeking position players in returning Garrett Crochet trade talks. So, Pete, again, I don't want to bring up the negative, but that is what happened. They thought they were going to trade Crochet. He goes, no, I'm not going anywhere unless I get an extension. Pump the brakes a little bit. There's no denying the fact that the young man has talent and ability, and there's a reason why the Red Sox and Mets, among teams interested in him.
I'm interested to see what these deals are going to bring back to the White Sox because of just the unknown with Garrett Crochet. What we do know is when he's right, 209 punch-outs and 146 innings. That's huge numbers, huge stuff that when he's right, he looks as good as anybody in the game. And look, last May and June, go look at his numbers. He was as electric and as good as anybody in the game, but he hasn't done it for a long period of time and or years. So what do you give up for 2 years of control for an extreme talent, but you might not know what you're getting, and especially with the extension talk. So going to be really interesting to see how this plays out. I expect him to move before the season.
You're certainly right about the durability. He's never done it for a consistent amount of time, but those are eye-popping numbers. Strikeout to walk ratio, that gets my attention.
It gets everybody's attention, and it did before the trade deadline. The extension and stuff kind of put the White Sox in a hamstrung position. I don't believe they are now with this kind of talent, but they need a specific package because they're all the way down to the studs trying to build something back special in Chicago.
All right, so Garrett Crochet could be on the move for the White Sox. As Jake said, expects to be dealt before opening day. Meantime, the New York Yankees, well, they won their first pennant in 15 years. They're not sitting around. Look what John Morosi said. The Yankees are among the most aggressive teams in speaking with reps for free agent relievers at the GM meetings. One reason, 3 members of their World Series bullpen, at least got them to the World Series. Clay Holmes, Tommy Kahnle, and Tim Hill are all free agents. So we know how important it is to mix and match, especially come playoff time for the bullpen. Aaron Boone did an excellent job of using those guys, deploying them the correct way. We saw Clay Holmes struggle late, but then he was very effective as a setup guy. When you think of some names out there, imagine a Devin Williams in the Bronx. How do you think they should target how to reshape their bullpen?
Well, I'm going to go back to the Boone comment real fast because he did everything he could absolutely do with what the hand he had dealt. I know some executives in that Yankees front office, and not going to throw them down the river, but that was their major concern. In the second half, I don't know if we have a championship closer. and certainly Luke Weaver filled a huge void. But when you lose the names that were throwing every playoff game, you certainly have to address that. Left-handed reliever, they certainly, after Tim Hill, what a great job he did, but they didn't have that lefty that could neutralize the other lefties. I think that's why you saw Nestor in that spot. So I love a Tanner Scott. I love making a move for a Devin Williams. If the Yankees want to be the Yankees, you look at what might be out there for them to go get.
Tanner Scott would be massive. I mean, that name jumps out when I look at that list.
Right, and it gives you that left-handed thing, at the back of the lineup to neutralize the big left-handers when it matters most, Ohtani and certainly others. But the Yankees certainly have to build backwards, win the games you're going to win. An elite closer like they had in Mariano Rivera. I'm not asking anybody to fill those shoes, but somebody that you feel game over needs to be on this Yankee roster.
Look at the right-hand side for me. So Hoffman's starting to do the Phillies. Of course, Clay Holmes you could bring back. Jansen a little long in the tooth, still effective. Robertson's been a Yankee. See all the course of the D-backs. Trinan was unbelievable.
You talk that guy.
You get Trinan, exactly. Tell Trinan to come back.
Hey, look, and we got to give David Robertson some play. This young man's career has been outstanding. He does it year after year, big spot. I'm not saying he's the answer. He certainly has done it here. He could be a nice piece.
Yeah.
I love the name that we mentioned.
39 years old, by the way, for Dave Robertson. So we'll see if he comes back in pinstripes. All right, good stuff there involving the Yankees and what they could do for their bullpen. Of course, all the chatter right now is in San Antonio, Texas. That's where the GM meetings are still ongoing. Beautiful time this time of year as the GMs right now kicking things around with agents, et cetera, and checking out right now here at the hotel. Beautiful pool. Let's check in with JP Morosi and a couple of guests. JP, take it away.
Adnan, thanks very much. Katie, the Cardinals, a disappointing season in 2024. What are they doing this week to try to remedy that as you look towards 2025?
Well, it seems like the Cardinals' remedy is going to take more than just 1 year. The St. Louis Cardinals are in a bit of a transition period, making 2025 a little different. At the end of the 2025 season, longtime president of baseball operations John Mozeliak will step down. Former general manager of the Boston Red Sox, Chaim Bloom, will take over the Cardinals in 2026. That means the Cardinals are in a little bit of a reset period, as Mo likes to say. What that means for their offseason means you might see the Cardinals active, but not in ways that we usually expect St. Louis to be. St. Louis looks to be focusing on their youth movement and upgrading their player development system. What that means for the Major League roster is that wins could be on the back burner. Now, the Cardinals are not committing to a full rebuild. They're not tanking, nor do they need to. But they could be pretty active in terms of creating avenues for their young players. What does that mean? It means guys like Ryan Helsley could be on the trading block, had the most saves in baseball last year. The veterans, their marquee players, Sonny Gray, Wilson Contreras, Nolan Arenado, they all have no trade clauses, but given the right circumstances, could they waive them? These are the things the Cardinals are trying to figure out. So my prediction is St. Louis will be one of the more active teams come December, but not in the ways that we usually expect.
So, Robert, a lot of conversation this week about Juan Soto, centered on the Yankees and the Mets, but you have a different team in mind.
I sure do. All the talk right now has been either with the Mets or the Yankees, but I am not sleeping on the Philadelphia Phillies. You look at the roster, they have Bryce Harper, they have Trey Turner, they have Kyle Schwarber, they love stars. And what do they all have in common? They have also played with Juan Soto. And the Kevin Long factor, who's the Phillies' hitting coach, highly regarded, has a great relationship with Soto. I am not discounting that at all. And then when you have an ownership group with John Middleton and an executive like Dave Dombrowski, what do they all love? They love star players. I think the Phillies should not be discounted. I don't think they're the favorites by any means, but I am not sleeping on them at all when it comes to Juan Soto this offseason.
It's been a busy week already, not so much in terms of movement, Katie, but a lot of conversation. What has stood out to you and what you've heard in the lobby here at the GM meeting so far?
I've really been intrigued by the American League smaller market teams maybe driving the free agent market and trade market this winter. You're thinking about the Orioles, fantastic regular season, very disappointing postseason. Mike Elias, their leader of the brass, was saying, they're committed to winning more and possibly spending more under their new ownership. You're looking at teams like the Royals. What a surprising story and fun story they were last year. They're looking for help in the leadoff position, looking to augment their lineup a little bit. The Tampa Bay Rays, of course, must figure out, one, where they're going to play, but after that, what their roster will look like. And in talking to Eric Neander, their president of baseball operations, he said, they're definitely looking to add some help in catching. They want to get better at that position specifically. These are all teams, that we maybe aren't counting on to spend a lot of money in years prior, or at least be active, but early conversations indicate that might not be the case this year. So I'm looking forward to see what these American League markets do.
And Robert, any names or teams that have surprised you so far?
I think the name that's garnering quite a bit of interest early on here has been Nathan Eovaldi. He is drawing interest from the Texas Rangers, who have made it abundantly clear that he is their top priority in free agency, and they've maintained conversations there. The Atlanta Braves have also been mentioned as far as in fit for Eovaldi. There's other teams in the mix as well. To my knowledge, nothing is close, but for a dependable right-handed pitcher like that, who can eat innings, has been durable. I know he's got 2 Tommy John surgeries, but he's been durable for the most part since he went to Texas. I think he's a name to watch out for here in the early part of free agency.
And in terms of trade conversations as well, Adnan, one name I heard a lot in the lobby today, Owen Casey of the Chicago Cubs. The Cubs have an abundance of outfielders, some other needs to address, so it wouldn't surprise anyone if Owen Casey from Burlington, Ontario, may have a different team by spring training. Back to you.
I mean, JP, you know what you're doing. You're throwing in Ontario, you have my attention. Casey at the bat. Good stuff there. Couple of tweets here. Fox Sports, the Cardinals are moving Wilson Contreras from catcher to first base. Remember all that conversation, if he could be a catcher or not? You like that move then, do you? Okay. And also another tweet here. Scott Boras said Alex Bregman had a bone chip removed from his elbow. Should be back swinging in a few weeks. He'll be fine for spring training. We'll talk Bregman in a second, but I like that you had a take on Contreras. You like that move. Why is that?
Well, because they've had problems with him catching since they signed him to the deal. Yeah. And you cannot have problems at that catching position. I can help St. Louis's front office out a little bit. You've got a guy, Yadier Molina, who didn't do anything but be the best catcher I've ever seen in my lifetime. And when he needs to be involved in this next catcher search and what's important. St. Louis, get back to that. This is going to free up the pitching staff to do different things that they certainly couldn't do with Contreras.
So Bregman's fascinating because he's been a really good player. There's no question about it. He's had the postseason resume, but a little bit older now. Production has dimmed a little bit. How does Houston approach this? Because I think Bregman might get some other offers on the outside.
Well, he's going to get all kind of offers, and he should be. Older, I know his season was down. That elbow, he was a stud battling through that, never talking about it, making any kind of excuses. This guy's a championship player. When the team that you've spent 6+ years with wants to keep you and talks about it being a top priority, that tells you everything you need to know about the player. If they're letting you walk out the door, we might have some red flags. Bregman's going to have plenty of offers. I want him on my team.
We shall see if indeed he remains there. The Houston Astros, again, should be ready for spring training. Quick timeout here in MLB Tonight. When we come back, Mike Shildt gets rewarded for a wonderful season with the San Diego Padres. We'll ask Mike what it was like in San Diego and how they can make the push next year to beat the Dodgers and get to the World Series. That's next.
シーズンの終わりが近づく中、MLB の各チームや選手たちがどのような選択をするのか、本当に楽しみですね。今年も多くのドラマが生まれましたが、これからのオフシーズンも目が離せません。特に注目したいのは、サンディエゴ・パドレスのマイクと監督の続投や、ホワイトソックスのギャレット・クロシェの移籍の行方です。パドレスはシルト監督の指導の下で見事な成績を収め、チーム全体がまとまりました。今年のパドレスは、特にランナーが得点圏にいる場面での打撃が素晴らしく、チームプレーが輝いていました。このパフォーマンスを支えたのは、ビクター・ロドリゲス打撃コーチや、選手たちが一丸となって築き上げた強力な打線でした。シルト監督のリーダーシップと選手たちへの信頼が、パドレスに素晴らしい化学反応をもたらし、シーズンを通して多くの感動を生み出しました。ファンとしては、彼の続投が決まったことで、来シーズンも彼のリーダーシップの下で、さらなる成功を期待せずにはいられませんね。一方、ホワイトソックスのギャレット・クロシェの移籍の行方も見逃せません。クロシェは驚異的な投球力を持ち、チームにとって重要なピースであり、若手有望株として注目されてきました。しかし、ホワイトソックスは新たなポジション選手の補強を模索しており、クロシェをトレードに出す可能性が浮上しています。レッドソックスやメッツなど、彼に興味を示すチームが多い中で、クロシェのような才能あふれる選手がどのチームに新たな力をもたらすのか、ファンとしては興奮が止まりません。そして、ニューヨーク・ヤンキースもブルペン強化に向けた動きを見せています。ヤンキースは、デビン・ウィリアムスやタナー、スコットなど、実力派のリリーフ投手をリストに挙げており、特に 左投手の補強を重視しています。今年のヤンキースは、ブーン監督が投手をうまく配置し、試合ごとに勝利を引き寄せましたが、さらなるブルペン強化が期待されます。ウィリアムスやスコットが加わることで、ヤンキースのリリーフ陣がより一層強化される可能性があり、ファンとしては待ち遠しいですね。さらに、セントルイス・カージナルスも変革の時期に差し掛かっています。長年成功を収めてきたカージナルスですが、2026年には、ヒーム・ブルームが新たなリーダーとして指揮を取ることが決まっており、それに向けての改革が進んでいます。カージナルスは若手選手の成長に焦点を当てつつ、今後の未来を築いていく姿勢を示しています。ノーラン・アレナドやウィルソン、コントレラスといったベテラン選手たちも、この再構築の一環として、どのような役割を果たしていくのかが注目されており、ファンとしては、その動向を見守るのが楽しみです。さらに、ワン・ソトの移籍先として、フィリーズも浮上しています。ヤンキースやメッツが外獲得に向けて動きを見せる中で、フィリーズも彼との縁が深い打撃コーチのケビン・ロングの存在があり、ソトがチームに加わる可能性が取り沙汰されています。ソトのようなスター選手がフィリーズに加わることで、チーム全体に大きな影響が生まれることでしょう。このようなスター選手の動向は、ファンにとっても見逃せない要素であり、ソトの移籍先がどうなるか、今後の注目ポイントです。また、アメリカンリーグの小規模市場のチームも積極的に選手補強やトレードを言っているのが注目されています。オリオールズやレイズといったチームは、これまであまり資金を使わなかったことが多いですが、新たなオーナーシップの下で積極的に動いており、今後のシーズンにどのような影響を与えるのかが楽しみです。小規模市場のチームがどのように MLB で競争力を高めていくのか、そしてファンの期待に応えるためにどのような戦略を取っていくのか、非常に興味深いですね。MLB の魅力は、シーズンオフでの戦略や新しい展開、チーム全体の結束力が試されるところにあります。各チームがどういった選手を獲得し、どのようなシステムで戦うのか、来シーズンの展開が今から待ちきれません。これからのオフシーズン、皆さんはどのような展開を期待していますか？お気に入りの選手が新たなチームでどんな活躍を見せてほしいと思いますか？また、各チームの補強やトレードに対する意見や期待も、ぜひコメント欄で教えてください。気に入っていただけたら、いいねとチャンネル登録もお忘れなく。MLB の最新ニュースやハイライトをお届けするので、これからもお楽しみに。皆さんと一緒に MLB のシーズンを盛り上げていきましょう。